How to evict a tenant immediately in Ontario. I'm gonna help you guys and give you my best strategies and what I recommend so that you can get your property back vacant. Now, this all depends on why you want your property back, so you know which step you should use. Starting with the first one, cash for keys. This is a scenario where you give the tenant some cash and they give you back the keys and your property vacant. The cash for keys scenario works a lot. I've seen cash for keys at a low amount of money. I've seen cash for keys at a high amount of money, but I don't recommend paying that high amount of money unless it makes absolute sense for you. You want to find that happy middle ground where it assists the tenants with their new place and you get your property back. Now, do not give the tenants cash unless they sign an N11 notice, which is an agreement to end the tenancy amongst the tenant and the landlord. This will have a date on it specifying when that tenant is supposed to move out and when you get your property back. And if that tenant does try to file to the landlord and tenant board against you later, you have an N11 in hand stating that you gave them cash for keys and it was an agreement amongst both of you. So that case gets thrown out the window and there's no issues. Now, I understand you probably have some animosity and some emotions built up towards your tenant, which is why you're watching this video, and you probably don't want to give them cash. But this route does work. I just recommend that you're not the one that approaches the tenant, because if you guys don't have good feelings towards each other, that conversation is going to be hard and they're probably going to ask you for a crazy amount of money. So I recommend you get your paralegal to do this, or you get a real estate agent to do this if your plan is to sell the property. If you're not looking at selling the property, get a paralegal to do it. They'll negotiate this with the tenant's paralegal, so both of you guys can be separated and this can be an easier process for you. Now, the next one, which is the unfortunate one, the tenant's not paying rent. They're not giving you any money right now and you need them out. You are going to submit an N4 notice of eviction for non-payment of rent. Now, this is a notice to end the tenancy because the tenant is not paying you rent, and I highly recommend you do this right away as soon as they stop paying you. Whether it's 2 days after they pay rent, 3 days, no matter what, submit it. If they send you a message saying, I'm going to send you the rent, I just need a few days, still submit this notice to the landlord and tenant board, because the truth is it does take time to get a hearing with the landlord and tenant board, and you don't want any more delays if you're waiting on the tenant to pay you and you give them a little extra time and then they don't pay you again. I've seen this happen multiple times. Now you're waiting an extra couple months when you could have been to the landlord and tenant board earlier and you could have that sheriff evict them for that non-payment of rent. So make sure you act immediately on this. If the tenant's not paying you rent, N4 right away, notice of eviction to end the tenancy. The next one is the N12, which is the notice of eviction for your personal use. This notice is going to be given to the tenant from when they pay rent and they have 60 days to move out. Now, understand, you give the tenants this notice for your own personal use, your parents' personal use, your child's personal use, or your caregiver's personal use. You can also use this if you sell the property and the new buyer requires the property for their personal use. However, you have to have the property in your possession for 1 year before you re-rent it or sell it. If you're going to sell it, you have to sell it to somebody that's going to use the property for their own personal use, cannot promise vacant possession unless the tenant signs an N11 and agrees to move out. And if somebody is going to buy it as an investment, they must assume the tenancy. Now, that N12 does work. It really just depends on your scenario and why you want that property back. Are you taking it back for yourself, your child, your parents, or your caregiver? Use the N12, this works as well. Now, if you have any questions, concerns, you can comment below. I am a licensed real estate agent that helps tons of investors with their rental properties. You can shoot me an email, send me a text, or give me a call. I'll put my information down below, and watch this video and this video if you're looking to sell your property, and I'd be happy to help you guys. I'll see you in the next video.